Derek Kennedy, and I've been asked to put this little video together about effective board governance. I have had the opportunity now to help run 3 different companies, and I'm still actively engaged in those 3 different companies, as well as sit on the board of Horizon College and Seminary for a number of years now, and several of those in the chair position. I have some education in governance that I've picked up along the way and through formal studies. I'm no means an expert, but some real world example, in addition to the formal learning, has definitely given me a perspective on what effective board governance is. So I'm just going to go through a few different points here. The first thing to mention is that, I guess, what is a board? A board is, it's the highest authority level of the organization. It is the piece of the organization that where all the authority rests, and it sets the policy for going forward. It is responsible for the stewardship of the finances and the stewardship of the mission and values as well. So it's a very, very important piece to any organization. There are several different types of board structures. The 3 main types, I suppose, would be a policy board, and that is really the best practice that is out there. And secondly, there's the management type boards, and then there are working boards. I'm not going to go into super detail here, other than to say, it really is best practice for the board of an organization to set the policy, which is really the guardrails within which management or administration can then freely operate. Key pieces of that obviously are the strategic plan and the budget, but really it's important for the organization to have that accountability to where the guardrails are. I guess a note is that a policy board doesn't preclude board members from volunteering or from working on a volunteer basis within the organization. It just means that clear lines of authority need to be understood and set out in policy, that when they're operating as a volunteer or as a leader of a ministry or of a team, that their authority is really deriving from the senior leader, or in church context, the senior pastor, whose authority then derives from the board. And so if a deacon or a board member is volunteering or leading a ministry, then really they just need to understand, and everyone needs to understand, that they're not there by virtue of the authority they're acting under is not by virtue of them being a deacon or on a deacon board. It is very much flowing through from the senior pastor, who's been delegated authority by the board as a whole. Some comments, I guess, on board composition. It's a bunch of individuals who've been elected or called, as the case may be, to sit in a trustee type position. The members should be representative of the constituency they're serving. There should be diversity in background, gender, experience, expertise, all those different things. They really contribute to a healthy board. There's certain expertise that may or may not be resident, but should be accessed as well, such as legal, accounting, HR, those types of things. If we have church members who have those, they might be good candidates to sit on the board. Some just, I guess, things to think about in terms of basic responsibilities of boards. When I was writing this out, there were 10 of them that I kind of came up with. There's probably more. I'm just going to list them super quick. I guess it's important to determine mission, purpose, and values, and make sure the organization stays there. We don't get mission drift. Ensure that there's effective planning and making sure that there's an actual strategic plan, and we're not just stumbling around. Establish standing policies that guide both the board and staff, and these should be actually written down in some capacity. Maybe a board policy manual, something like that, is best practice. The senior leader, this is a responsibility of the board, is to nurture and support the senior leader, but it's also to hold them accountable And all three of those are important. Ensuring financial solvency of the organization, the ethical integrity of the organization, and that there's adequate resources for the organization. Those are all key responsibilities of board members. The board must receive and consider reports, right? How do they know what's going on, and how can they ask good questions unless they get good reporting from the management or administration of the organization, or the church staff in this case? It's good practice to require a periodic external audit as well of the books. This is just a safety risk mitigation thing, and it just makes everyone feel confident in how things are managed. I thought that it was also important that the organization is represented well by the board members. And so, in a church context, it's probably not as likely that they're going to be representing, to the media or other things like that. But, board members should be examples. Maybe I'll leave it there. Evaluate and improve upon itself. It's not enough just to be. There should be a sense of operating with excellence and trying to improve. And so this is everything from, assessing board meetings to assessing itself. So this is the responsibility of the board itself to do this and to, orient new board members well so that they know what they're doing and they can be effective. So those are really the 10 most important things that I could think of here. 3 of the qualities of effective board members that I wanted to mention. I thought you got to be responsible, got to be trustworthy and dependable. You need to be committed to the task. There is work involved. There's monetary, support that is involved, and it's not always easy. So you have to be committed, and you need to be curious. You need to be willing to ask questions and dive into things, and this all needs to happen in a kind of a forum of, as I've heard it said, a candor and grace. Needs to be wide open discussion, but also done in a collegial and grace-filled atmosphere. Board size. This is somewhat dependent on organizational complexity. Obviously, smaller organizations probably don't need as many people on the board. What I've found and what I've read is that between 9 and 15, depending on the organization, is probably adequate. You want it small enough that you can have effective decision making and work gets done, but also large enough that you can have that diversity to bring in robust debate and guide the future. It's, in my opinion, quite important for all churches to consider, and all organizations that are governed well, to make sure that they're educating and investing in the education of governance of their board members, and their senior leader as well, particularly when the senior leader is acting as the chair of the deacon board. So that would be an encouragement that I have is, make sure your people, or at least some of the people, are well educated on this and support them in that. So thank you, and hope this was helpful for you. Bye-bye.